Virtually Sleeping Beauty is the very first book I wrote solely from the male perspective. Now, typically my stories are female-led, and on occasion I do dual POV, or point of view, and I have both the guy and the girl. Virtually Sleeping Beauty is the first that I've written specifically from the guy's perspective, and this is for a couple of different reasons. I really wanted the audience to feel the fear from Royce, who is our leading guy, our golden knight, if you will. And I wanted you to feel it along with him. There's a lot of hesitation and a lot of dread and a lot of scared things going on inside of the story when he is not with Rora, our princess inside of our Virtually Sleeping Beauty world. And I wanted to make sure that I could give that perspective in a really good way. I wanted all the feminine girl power moments, but from the male gaze. It's a very interesting perspective on it, but it also goes back to the original Sleeping Beauty. Think of any Sleeping Beauty story that you've read or movie that you've watched. We unfortunately don't get to see our leading lady all that much because she's unconscious. She is asleep. So I put a twist on it inside of my story because my Sleeping Beauty is asleep in the real world. She's trapped in a virtual reality video game. So what they do is they inject themselves and they go into the game for up to 4 hours a day, and then they have to come back out of their game. In the real world, they're strapped to a chair and they can't hurt themselves, they can't do anything, but they're asleep. They're not conscious, they're not able to react to things. In the game, they're active and they're moving, they're doing things. Now, with this, it is two different worlds. We have the virtual reality world and the real world. And inside of the story, if Rora can't wake up in the real world, she's gonna die. So she has to get out of the game. So Royce is forced to go into the game at the behest of his aunt, who is kind of watching over Rora for a little bit while her parents are away. And so she's kind of the caretaker at the moment, and she's just kind of lost the daughter. Unfortunately, it's a bad thing. And so her best friend's gonna kill her when she gets back, meaning she panics and calls her nephew to come help her because he understands the world of the virtual reality setting that she's in more so than the aunt does. And so Royce arrives and he goes into the game to save her, but she outranks him, he ends up being eye candy, the whole works. And I wanted to give it from Royce's perspective because in any version of the story, our princess is asleep. She's unconscious for a lot of it. And so in the real world, we wouldn't get anything if she's trapped inside of this game. We would not see her aunt. We wouldn't see what is happening, and we wouldn't be able to understand the dystopian world that they're in. So we could talk about it a little bit, but we wouldn't get people's reactions. We would not get to see the aunt being totally panicked over what's happening, or Royce charging into this situation and Alan following him. We wouldn't get to see anything in the real world. So my options were dual point of view, or singularly through Royce's point of view, and I loved the idea of him not knowing what was happening. And because he didn't know what was happening inside the game when he wasn't in the game, none of us would either. I love the idea of not knowing what's happening because in what version of Sleeping Beauty do we understand what's going on in her mind? We get to see it in some. Some of us take a look into her subconscious and what's happening in her dream world and those things. But I really love the idea of the audience not knowing what was going on when we were not inside of the game with Royce. And so I chose to go with just the male perspective, which by the way doesn't sell as well in a lot of genres of books. And so that's typically not something that works well for the YA, the young adult space. So I made the conscious decision to tell it from Royce's point of view because we don't know what happens when he's not in the game. The things that she does and the things that she has to do and what she's subjected to, we don't know. We enter into this story unaware of what she's going through, and we leave this story not knowing what's happening while she's trapped inside of the story and he's not there. I love that we get to experience the fear. So as he starts to build feelings for Rora, we kind of get to see his attachment and how his objections or his viewpoint of her changes as we go forward. We get to see what happens when he's starting to evolve the way that he's thinking about her and the game and everything that's happening. And so we get to see all of these terrifying things from his viewpoint, which by the way, I don't know if you know, but it's really attractive and interesting when we get to see inside of the male's head about how he feels about the woman, which is why when I write dual point of view, all of my good kissing scenes are from the guy's point of view because we as women love to know what they're thinking and what they're experiencing, and it's just so much better for us. So I loved being able to write from Royce's point of view in this story. so that we can get the fear, so that we get the mystery, so that we don't know what's happening, and that we can see that girl power through his eyes. Because Rora comes into this story and kind of kicks butt, and we don't get to see that as much or as strong if it's her telling her story, rather than us going with Royce and seeing what he's seeing with this kick-butt woman just taking charge of the game that he loves, and that's something, right? And so I love being able to witness that through his perspective and really see what that did with him and with his storylines inside of Virtually Sleeping Beauty. If you want more behind the scenes of Virtually Sleeping Beauty, hit the subscribe and notification bell and let me know which story should I tell you a behind the scenes secret about in my next video. Every single week I drop a brand new video about one of my books, and you get to pick which one comes next. So let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video as we continue to talk all about my books, about author vlogs, we talk about author life and lifestyle stuff, we talk about the publishing industry and more in our daily videos every day here on the YouTube channel. I'll see you in the next one.